New Year's holidays always bring a warm atmosphere, the lights glittering on the city streets, the sounds of laughter from families gathered together, and the clinking of glasses toasting to new hope. For Jungkook, this holiday was a precious time spent with his family and friends, something he has missed since joining the military a few months ago. For 5 days, Jungkook experienced the freedom of civilian life. He woke up without hearing the morning bugle, enjoyed a hot breakfast with his mother, and sat in the living room, watching his favorite comedy shows with his brother. They celebrated New Year's Eve in their garden, with fireworks coloring the sky. Although simple, the moment became a priceless memory for him. However, the 6th day arrived sooner than she expected. The morning alarm woke him up with a different feeling. It was no longer his mother's gentle voice, but his own consciousness that reminded him. This was the day he had to return to the military camp. Jungkook packed his things quietly. The neat military uniform had been ironed and folded by his mother, perfectly arranged on the bed. He reached for the uniform, feeling the rough texture of the fabric, so different from the casual clothes he wore during vacation. The gentle scent of detergent mixed with a hint of lavender from her mother's closet fragrance brought a warm feeling in the midst of the arduous task ahead of her. She inspected her black boots carefully, making sure the shine had not faded. They were an important symbol of his duty, a symbol of his responsibility as a soldier. With a small polished cloth, Jungkook scrubbed the leather surface of the boots to a perfect shine. With every movement, he felt a mixture of emotions, pride, fear, and longing swirling in his chest. When everything was ready, Jungkook stood in the center of his bedroom. He looked around the room that had been his sanctuary since childhood. The old posters on the walls featured various rock stars and musicians he used to idolize. One corner of the room was filled with memorabilia from his teenage years. Trophies from singing competitions, photos of school friends, and well-worn books. In another corner, a guitar resting quietly by the window caught Jungkook's attention. It had been his constant companion for years, the instrument he used to express the feelings he found difficult to put into words. During this vacation, he had picked it up again, playing songs that brought back fond memories. Jungkook walked over to the guitar, gently stroking its neck that was full of usage marks. "I'll go again tomorrow," he murmured softly, as if speaking to the inanimate object. "Wait for me, okay? I'll be back." He then turned around and walked towards the window. From there, she could see her simple yet memorable yard. The mango tree in the corner of the yard was where she used to play as a child, and the wooden bench underneath was often where she sat while contemplating or writing songs. Outside, the sun was beginning to lean to the west, giving the sky a beautiful orange tinge. "This is only temporary," she thought as she took a deep breath. "I'll be back, and all this will still be there for me." As he stepped out of the room, he carried mixed feelings, longing for the past, calmness from the love of his family, and determination to do his duty with all his heart. The room was not only a physical space, but also a place where she kept the most honest part of herself. Leaving the room did not mean leaving who he was, but rather taking his strength elsewhere, to the field of duty that awaited him. "Take care of yourself," his mother said, hugging him tightly at the door. His father simply patted his shoulder, giving him strength without words. After several hours of traveling, Jungkook finally arrived at the gate of the military camp. The cold winter air assaulted him as soon as he stepped off the bus, making him shiver even though the thick jacket he wore was warm enough. The gray sky hanging overhead and the sound of thin snow rustling under his boots reminded him that he was back in a world very different from the comforts of home. At the camp gate, a line of soldiers had begun to form. Jungkook saw familiar faces. Some of his friends in the platoon were beaming, sharing vacation stories with a burning enthusiasm. Some proudly showed family photos, while others laughed loudly as they recalled funny moments with their friends back home. However, not everyone carries the same positive energy. Some soldiers were seen walking slowly with their heads bowed, as if still lost in reverie about the home they had just left. One of them was Miho, Jungkook's roommate, who was seen tightly hugging his small suitcase. His eyes were slightly puffy, probably from lack of sleep or crying silently during the trip. Jungkook approached Miho, patting his shoulder gently. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked in a caring tone. Miho turned his head with a faint smile. "Yeah, it's just hard leaving home again. My mom cries when I leave, and it makes me feel heavy." Jungkook nodded in understanding. He felt the same way himself, though he knew he had to hide it. "I understand, but you know, right? This is all for them. We're here to protect them so they can stay safe." Miho nodded, though his gaze was still a little blank. "You're right. Thank you, Jungkook." Meanwhile, officers at the gate began checking attendance lists and luggage. The soldiers were asked to line up neatly, hand in their identification, and report back to their respective units. Jungkook followed the procedure calmly, although mixed feelings began to fill his mind. When he finally passed through the gate, the camp atmosphere he had not seen for a long time felt familiar. The neatly lined barracks, the training field covered in a thin layer of snow, and the sound of command echoing in the distance. All of this felt harsh and cold, a far cry from the warmth of the home he had just left. "Welcome back, Jungkook," exclaimed Jae-ho, his platoon mate, who was standing in front of one of the barracks. He waved excitedly, his face full of smiles. Jungkook waved back with a big smile. "Hey, you look like you haven't eaten much during your vacation. Did your mom forget to feed you good food?" "Quite the opposite. I ate so much that my uniform almost didn't fit anymore," Jae-ho replied with a laugh. As night fell and the soldiers returned to their barracks, it became even quieter. Jungkook sat on his bed, staring at his family photo that he had placed on the small bedside table. Homesickness began to gnaw at his heart, but he remembered his mother's words before she left. "Do your best, son. We're always waiting for you at home." With that, Jungkook took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and promised himself that he would take on this task with full responsibility. For him, returning to camp was not just about doing his duty, but also about protecting the hopes of his loved ones. When the welcoming ceremony was over, Jungkook returned to his barracks. "You look fuller, Jungkook. Did your mom feed you 5 times a day?" joked Jae-ho, one of his friends. Days passed, and the harsh routine of the military returned to envelop Jungkook's life. Physical training in the morning, war simulations, and night guard duty filled their time. However, something changed in him. A short vacation with his family reminded him of the reason why he was here, to protect the people he loved. At the military camp, the vacation may be over, but the spirit he brought from home still burns in Jungkook's heart, guiding him through every challenge.